Greetings. Raobat, Moisar, Raobat, Yasar. Greetings. We're about to get started today. We're starting a new day, new week. A little bit different format today. And let's see. So definitely just want to say greetings to everyone out there. And just trying to get set up here. Let's see, but greetings. Today is September the 7th, 2021. Another NoopooH Live. Today we're dealing with NoopooH News. The first Tuesday of every month, we're going to be dealing with NoopooH News. The first Tuesday. So this is the first NoopooH News discussion, right? And it's going to be the first Tuesday of every month is NoopooH News. So that's very important. I'll put that out there, guys. All right, so let's get Let's get started. For those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan. You guys can see his image right there. He's also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We identify as Wu Sabat, also called Wu Nawab. He's been teaching us for over 50 some odd years, our ancient culture of Wu Nawab or slash Wu Sabat, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, in accordance with the wisdom of the Hutri. And in essence, it is our ancient African culture of making decisions in harmony with natural nature for us to get back in tune with natural nature, which is how we lived. And we argue that the problems that Black people are dealing with all over the world, the suffering and all the issues we've been dealing with for the last 6,000 years and in the last 500 years is due to the fact that we got away from our ancient African culture of Wu Sabat. All of our problems, all of our challenges is because we've been living foreign cultures, and we've been living those foreign cultures, unfortunately, almost 6,000 years. And for the last 500 years, we've been conquered and ruled by the Western foreign cultures, and we have been embracing these lifestyles, which has done nothing but create chaos for us and really chaos for the planet. And we argue the only way to fix those problems is for us to get back to our ancient culture. So myself, I'm one of many students that have dedicated our time and livelihood to re-educating our people, that if we want to really solve our problems, we have to get back to the cultures that are designed to work for us as African people all over the globe. And this is what we're dedicated to doing, is teaching this ancient African culture. And so we have these question and answer classes. This is just one of many, right? We have many brothers and sisters who does these question and answer classes throughout the globe, actually, in different places. And primarily, a lot of us are located on the East Coast of the United States. I'm in the Metro Atlanta area of Georgia, and the classes are to help individuals comprehend our doctrine and to try to answer any questions and concerns in regards to that. So, and that being said, our doctrine is focused on re-educating our people spiritually, because we say two of the main problems that Black people suffer from is their spiritual ignorance and their racial blindness. Their spiritual ignorance and their racial blindness. And so our doctrine is around, or our culture is around, re-educating our people towards these two concepts. So I always recommend everyone to watch our classes, our lectures. We have a lot of them on our YouTube channel at NoopooH on YouTube, and we tell people to watch our classes also more than once. So that's extremely important. Now, before we get started, we do a prayer system every week. And the purpose of the prayer system is about our spiritual development, right? So prayer is an ancient practice that is an ancient African practice, right? And the sole purpose of prayer is about recalibrating ourselves. Because we not only do prayer systems, we have a chant systems, we have a meditation systems. All of this is a part of developing yourself spiritually. So for those who are new, as you can see on the screen here, it's in our language called Misbatia or Sabian, and we have the English translation. So you guys can read through the English translation while we say the prayer in Sabian. For those who know it, definitely follow along, okay? And we'll go from there. All right. Abdul Kala Namasa Wabazun Naman Kasam on the far pa paut. Anuki Jawef pa Ashuk Impa paut. Wu Kala Ashuk Kawun Jawef Naya. Anuki Kasaman Impa paut. Wu pa paut Kawun Kasaman M Naya. Anuki Wahu Ama pa paut. Wu pa paut Kawun Wahu Ama Naya. Naku Kador Naju Ama Kasaman Impa paut. Wu Khabub Ama Shikasun. Nakuk Kador Kawan Kaleb Afaf Nakuk Daya Jawep Pa Baot. Ama Wasu Ama Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jawep Pa Baot. Anuki Yabab Bina Fasni. Pa Pot Kawun Anuki. Pa put kador, nakuk kador. Pa put amul, nakuk amul. Lahahum manehnun, layahum manehnun. Ahumata karehum, ahumata karekum, ahumata karenun. Ahumata Jawefnaya, Ahumata Nayawu Anukihum, Ye Ashuk Re'e, Asmua Jayenun, Ye Unataro Afuknun, Anunata Kharaukum, Ye Unataro Afuknun, 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 Ye Unataro Nun, Anun, Atun, Atun. Amun. Ye unataru namazo waho. Ye mafaku. Yehu, Yehu, Ye nataru. Yesaya, Yesaya, Ye nataru. Yehika, Yehika, Ye nataru. And kuma ata pa mufaku. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru. And kuma ata pa mufaku. Wu anun ata kharaukum. Wu ankum ata yasanun. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru. Akfush muklas nun atum re'e. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru. Namazo atu, akfush enhu. Ye umuktambu akfut nun. Enkum mana yaka laduda salafu nun. Wu yasa'u nun. Mana yaka sawura pa ba'a. Mana yaka kawuna ka'u. Mana yaka ata akha. Mana yaka kawuna bashawu damam. Ye unataru muktamu nun. Akfush muftad nun. Anhu kawun manza mana panataru. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawun baba yananan. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawun natum re'e. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawun khafush. Namazo talu. Ye unataru salafunun. Akfut nun manapa muchwadu. Akfut nun manatag huwan. Ye unataru akfut nun. Manasaya khayara. Akfut nun akfut naya. Akfut nun akfut naya. Ye unataru nun. Namazo rabu patashun. Nakuk talub tashun bi panataru. Manapa la en lawi tananu. Kala ranam atni at the laha panataru. Wu kala namaso atni at the laha kayat yatun laya panataru. Pa sawawu pa tara. Panan safa kawun pa sawawu pa tara. Z kawuna nazula laha ankum mana saba'at wu sa'at. Ama haday an wu shafayun mana salafukum wu nataru. Ajula ye nafasukum afuk shana kawunkum pa sawabu pa tara. Pa hadayan wu pa shafe anun tawo ankum laha panan shafe wu alaj. Anun tawa ankum laha tem nasuinun. Anun tawa ankum laha ashukuma. Ankum ata salafunun. Anun ata kharaukum. Anun talub nasa kuma. Anun talub nasa kuma. And so nun sayin nataru. And so nun salafunun. Anun ata munwapo. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amen. Ye unataru nun. Ye mufta'u. Ye unataru. Ye atum re'e. Ye nata. Ye nun. Ye nata. Ye nun tat. Ye nata tat. Ye ha. Ye nata. Ye ha tat. Ye nata tat. Ye kach. Ye nata. Ye ka tat. Ye nata tat. Ye mun. Ye nata. Ye mun tat. Ye nata tat. Ye umufkemu ye unataru. Ye atum ye nata. Ye shawa ye nata. Ye tafaf natat ye nata tat. Ye sabab ye nata. Ye natat ye nata tat. Ye ashtat ye nata tat. Ye asa ye nata. Ye nabab tahatat ye nata tat. Ye satak ye nata. Ye hara ye nata. Natharu Shalila Meye. Ye Hatri Yenatha. Ye Anakta Yenatha. Ye Haratwi Yenatha. Natharu Shalila Nawa. Ye Nafatum Yenatha. Ye Mantu Yenatha. Ye Babti Yenatha. Ye Sakhamta Yenatha. Ye harata yenatha, ye bai bish yenatha, ye fa yenatha, ye basta yenatha, ye emhata yenatha. Nathara shalilpa hawaii, ye anhu yenatha, ye matat yenatha, ye mahatwi yenatha, ye kafre yenatha, ye miskanat yenatha, ye rayeta yenatha, ye consimitiu yenatha. Ye hika yenatata, ye natata yenatata, ye ma'at yenatata, ye renenta yenatata, ye she yenatata, ye sashat yenatata, ye mafta yenatata. Natara shalil pa taha, ye sabat yenata, ye na yenata, ye khanum yenata, ye khanash yenata, ye fanun yenata, ye saye yenata, ye hakta yenatata, ye amash yenata, ye sarabtui yenata, ye atum re'e yenatata, ye dahutui yenata, ye faurat yenatata, ye sakata yenatata, ye ha yenata, ye nehebka'a yenata, ye saka yenata, ye ba'ah yenata, ye aka yenata, ye emharata yenatata, ye bopapa. Ye wapawata yenata, ye sakahatapta yenatata, ye merita sakata yenatata, ye saye ta yenatata, ye garata yenatata, ye esat inu yenata, ye bahata yenatata, ye khanamta yenatata, ye manata yenatata, ye khamam yenata, ye mahatwi yenata, ye kabefsan and a faf yenata, de ye da mata afaf yenata, ye merita yenatata, ye nasat yenata, ye imdadata yenatata, ye nakakbata yenatata, ye sakata yenatata, ye anakta yenatata, ye dadad yenata, ye tum yenata, ye wahu yenata, ye yasas yenata, ye anaku yenata. Yaftawit yenata, ye satat yenatata, ye sakatwi yenata, ye ma'at yenata, ye nana yenata, ye imnuit yenata, ye msatatwi yenata, ye mukdalta yenatata, ye rahashafaf yenata, ye maratwi yenata, ye mun re'e yenata, ye who and Ata Kale Jaweh Paut Nun Re Tun Re Tun Re Mun Re Ye Gen 4. Okay. All right. Now, for those who are new, who are not familiar with our rituals, again, so we went through the prayer system, right? And then after the prayer, we go into a chant, right? So the whole purpose of the prayers, the chanting, all of the rituals we do is for the sole purpose of recalibration, to recalibrate our bodies, to recalibrate ourselves. The goal is to make your physical body in harmony with your spiritual body, to get your physical body in harmony with your spiritual body, right? And once an individual is able to accomplish those goals, it gives them access to higher levels of senses that we as Africans once had, and we lost those abilities. And so the whole purpose of the rituals is for the purpose of recalibration. So saying prayers is not so much saying a prayer, but it's also the tones in which we say the prayers. Why it's so important to say in our language, right? In our lahaj. Language means lahaj and misbatia. And so it's not so much the prayer, it's the tones. It's the concepts behind the prayers, the frequencies. And so the chanting, all of those things are part of the rituals of recalibration, which is why we teach prayer systems are designed to be done at least 3 times a day, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. For the sole purpose, if one is able to consistently do that, then you will feel your body recalibrating. You literally have those feelings. You'll feel your energy centers, right, beginning to be activated. So this is the purpose of that. Why we do these things, for those who are not familiar and new to our class and the discussions. Now, the next thing is our core principles. For those who are new, we go over our core principles of Wu Sabat / Wu Nawak. And for those who are familiar with this, it's your obligation is to memorize these things, because our whole lifestyle and our culture is based around these core principles, right? So it's so important for everyone to be familiar with it. Now, principle number 1 is Ashak, and that is a Sabaean word that stands for divine love, or what we call the power of love. So the ultimate principle is to tap into Ashak, which is the creative force itself, right? The creative force is 9 ether, the 9 ether forces. And so that is our first primary goal, is to get back in harmony with Ashak. Once you are tapped into Ashak, then it gets rid of the ego. The ego is what's making humanity suffer. The goal of humanity always learn about the individual self rather than the collective whole. Our goal is to serve the whole, not the individual. And we as Africans used to live like that. Now we don't, and we're suffering for it. Principle number 2 is resurrection. The goal of every Sabaean is to resurrect, for us to become back and transform back into goddesses and gods. And then the way you do this is by reopening up your third eye. Once you open up your third eye, you'll be able to communicate with your ancestors who exist on higher dimensions. And so this is the goal of every student of Wu Sabat, is resurrection. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri / Ma'at. The Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for divine order, right? We did, for those who don't know, we've done the lectures and discussions on those. So I highly recommend everyone to watch the lectures we did on these particular concepts, right? We did a lecture on resurrection. Obviously, we did one on Dahutri and Ma'at. So definitely watch that. Principle number 4 is relationships. As Africans, we live of, for, and by each other as a community, okay? And we did a discussion on that. So I highly recommend everyone to watch those lectures. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance stands for sound, color, vibration, frequency. Creation itself is based on its morphic resonant frequency that produces matrix. So all creative entities, life forms, is made up of a genetic matrix. Like the human being is made up of a genetic matrix, and it's a morphic resonance that creates this matrix. Okay, so that's important to know. Principle number 6 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional body, and your spirit is your life force. We did a discussion on that, so I highly recommend guys to watch that lecture. Principle number 7 is Leviathan. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. That's what we, as children of Wu Sabat, we're at war with Leviathan. So again, we did a discussion on that. So definitely, guys, watch that lecture. Principle number 8 is health, right? The first key to health is a positive mind. Next is being that we're melanated beings, we need not a lot of sunlight, right? We need water. The body's 70% water. Fasting at least once to twice a week, we recommend. The herbal diet, we recommend the Dr. Sabi diet. Exercise. The key to health is also exercise, guys. You can't skip exercise. Also, rhythmic breathing. We put out a book called The Breath Book that teaches you how to breathe in rhythm. This is how you get in tune with the energy centers of your body. It's through rhythmic breathing. And then meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. All of those is a part of health. Health is not just physical, but it's also spiritual. Remember, our goal is for our physical body to be in harmony with our spiritual body. And that's how one resurrects. Principle number 9 is Pa'ut. Pa'ut stands for the creative force of existence. We say Pa'ut, it means all, the creative force. And Smat represents the cycles of existence. So existence is based on cycles of nature, moon cycles and sun cycles. Right now, we're in a sun cycle. Cycles last for about 6,000 years. So you go from the moon to the sun, from the moon to the sun. Sun cycle, those who live in harmony with nature. Moon cycles is ruled by those who live adverse to nature, right? And then Ach is what the creative force is made of. The energies are made of Acha. Okay. Now, for those who become students of Wu Sabat, you have goals, right? The 3 goals of a student of Wu Sabat is 1, your first goal is to raise yourself. Number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And number 3 is the work to build Sabbatia. Okay. So goal number 1 in raising the self, basically is you must be born again, like Christians teach, right? Learning the culture Wu Sabat and to live it. So that's the goal, giving up the old way of life, Western culture, for the new way of life. So that's like number 1, the first thing towards resurrection. And then to correct your name, right? When we were kidnapped and enslaved here, we was given, our names were taken from us. And so we have to correct that name back into African names. So that's important, and make it known to all. Correcting your dress, right? Learn to speak Sabian. Speaking our language is extremely important, and that's for the purpose of resurrection. Also, creating, helping your body with the vibrations. Right? English actually messes your matrix up. Also, studying our doctrine. The master teacher has written hundreds of books. Okay, and the purpose of our doctrine is to raise your level of consciousness and to practice and master our daily rituals. So we teach our spiritual rituals. This is all a part of resurrection. And the key to resurrection is a positive mind. You must always be positive. Now, goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. This includes working a free Panabab Yunanin, right? So for those who don't know, our master teacher has been kidnapped. He's in the prison system, been there for over 19 years, and it's pretty bad. But one of our goals is fighting, Leviathan to get him out of there. Another way we fight Leviathan is by doing these lectures, right? Promoting Wu Sabat, educating our people about our culture to get away from, the Western cultures that we live in that's harming us. Also, to become a student teacher. This is how you fight, Leviathan, and to fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which is ignorance, fear, lust, lies, slander, and gossip. Leviathan feeds off those energies, and if anyone knows anything about Western culture, the whole culture is based on these principles, right? And then goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. We work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panatharu in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that will be supported by an African government. So we need our own territory. We had it and it was taken from us, and we have to reestablish it. So that's a huge part of our goals. And the last is Ashak, is the key to accomplish all our goals, guys. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabian? 1, a Sabian is someone who is thoughtful, and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice, someone who is righteous, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is clean, and someone who is kind and considerate. Now, our purpose, as Sabian is liberation from adverse forces. This is, we work each and every day. Everyone's supposed to be working each and every day to liberate yourself from adverse forces, which is Leviathan, right? So number one is we must take action each and every day to free yourself of six ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirits. Number two, acknowledge and fight six ether by uh, from promoting, acknowledge and fight six ether from promoting capitalism. They're promoting the gay agenda. They're promoting miscegenation and the so-called equality of the races, which is a joke. Black people have been fighting for equality for 500 years, and things have actually gotten worse, right? We still have none of the power, none of the wealth, none of anything, and so it's a joke. Live according to our own principles rather than following someone else's dreams. In essence, what we're saying. And number three, learn, live by, and promote the laws / rules of natural nature. So that's something we also teach. And all of these are steps towards liberation. All of these are fighting the forces of Leviathan. Okay, and that's what our purpose is each and every day. It hasn't changed. This is what we're up against each and every day. Okay, so with that all being said, like I said, today's discussion is NoopooH news, updates, things that are going on, current events, things that are happening in the world, things that are happening in this nation that affects us. So we talked about we're going to do this the first Tuesday of every month. So the first Tuesday every month, we're going to talk about, topics that we're dealing with, right? Things that are affecting our people in the world and how we should be dealing with those things and the fact that we should be aware. Okay. So there's so many things we have to be aware of when we're dealing with six ether, because six ether doesn't rest. And Leviathan is going to do whatever it takes to maintain its control over us. And the only solution of fighting Leviathan is right knowledge, to have the right knowledge in order to counteract the things that Leviathan is doing. And so many of our people don't have the right knowledge. They don't know how to deal with all of the challenges that they're facing in the world. And so this is what we're dedicated to doing. So I'm doing the news so that you guys can be up to date. So we all can be up to date on what is happening currently, right? So what things we should be doing business-wise, what things we should be doing socially. We should all be on the same page. So this is why we're having this discussion. Okay. So let's see. Any questions? Do we have any questions? I'm just looking through the guys to see if any questions or any discussions. So, Frank, Trinidad. That's what's up. Rob back. And yeah. Back to these. Okay, cool. Hmm. Okay, all right, guys. I see you guys are talking, talking about my man Phil Valentine and the brother Panic. I'm somewhat familiar with those brothers. I've listened to Phil Valentine. Wow, years ago. It's funny because my brother had introduced me to him way back in mm, 99. He gave me a video of Phil Valentine, like 20 years ago or so. And it's interesting because I had introduced my brother into Wu Sabat, into the master teacher. And this was going back to like 1990. And then I had moved away, because I was living in New York and I moved away. And I moved into the South. So I kind of left my brother because my brother was still in New York. And being away, then I come back, I went back up north about a couple of years later. Then he started talking to me about, people like Dr. Ben. Then he started telling me about, people like Phil Valentine. And I'm like, yo, what happened? I was like, yo, what happened to the master teacher? Well, how you get sidetracked? Being I'm his older brother, he's I guess he sought out other elders in the community because he lived in Queens and who kind of introduced him into those personalities. And so and it's interesting. That's kind of how I got introduced to those guys, and I was listening to them. But and I respect everyone's teachings. So I definitely, want to make that clear. Uh, I think I got a question for you guys in the audience. Huh? Aren't these teachings? Okay. Spiritual warrior says, aren't these teachings the same as the 40 to my okay. No. Um that's why I tell everybody, you guys definitely, you have to watch the lectures on this channel, because I go into great detail trying to explain our culture, our whole concepts, our purpose. And that's my question I have for you guys, because I did many videos on this, and I have a question for you guys to give your answers. Okay. I have a question to ask you guys. And the question is this: according to Dr. York, the master teacher, what is his purpose? So I'm asking, anyone can write that in the chat. According to Dr. York, now, what is his purpose? Right? What is his purpose? According to Dr. York. I want everybody who knows the answer to give the answer, for those who know. If you guys been listening to what I've been teaching, the lectures, because I've gone over it so many different times and so many discussions. So I'm very curious to see who of you guys are familiar and who understands, according to Dr. York, what is his purpose. Okay. Okay, so T Tiger says to come into right knowledge. Okay. Anyone else want to give an answer? According to Dr. York, I'm asking all of you guys, because if you guys in a class, I'm a student teacher of his, and so it's important that you guys, because it'll tell me what things you guys are picking up from the things I'm trying to explain. All right, I see Nolene, mummies as he referred to us. Say that again. Now he's responding to something else. Okay, guys, come on. I need you guys to get more answers. According to Dr. York now, what is his purpose? Okay, Nolene Frank said mummies as he referred to us. And spiritual warrior, he came to give us what we want so that we would want what he has to give. To break, okay. Ronell King said to break the spell of Leviathan. Okay. Anyone else? Guys, I need more responses according to, because everyone needs to know this. Now you see we're getting different answers from different people. And we shouldn't be getting different answers from different people, because according to Dr. York, it should be one answer and it should be concise, and we all should be in agreement on what that is. And so that's why I'm asking this question. So I repeat, because I need everyone to answer whatever you think it is. According to Dr. York, what is his purpose? What is Dr. York's purpose? Okay. According to Dr. York, what is his purpose, guys? I need more people to respond. I'm not getting enough responses here. So, anyone else? Let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna bring it up in a particular book. Would you say, Kabeta? Okay. Can you write it in? Oh, okay. Anyone else want to answer that? Okay, Nolene said to raise us from a spell of ignorance, sleep, money, and more. Okay. All right, that's what's up. Okay, let's see. Where am I at? Anyone else? Okay, I see that. Spiritual water came to teach us and love for each other. Okay. Anyone? I'm gonna pull it up, but anyone else? Hmm? We're about to see. Okay. Okay, here's a book. The master teacher put this book out back in 2000. Okay, the master teacher put this book out called The Right Knowledge Scroll. So it came out in 2000. All right. So just so you guys know. And he put it in, he put in the beginning, it's called the author's note, and he put in here his purpose in the very beginning. And I read this many times, guys. All right. I read this many times, and everybody needs to know the answer to this. So I'll read it. It's right here. It says, he's talking about himself, I have devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead. So according to Dr. York, his purpose is to resurrect the mentally dead, okay, which I affectionately refer to as mummies. Never did I know that the evil one had done such a great job with these people, both mentally and physically, as to have them hate self and kind. My greatest dilemma and hindrance has been the black devil, born amongst you and by you, married to you, socializing with you, praying in the same sacred houses of worship as you. But secretly, they have a spiritual pact with the devil, which makes it near impossible for them to totally surrender to NoopooH. So I repeat, guys, according to Dr. York, he says, I have devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead. Now, okay, that leads me to another question I have for you guys. So everyone should know the answer now. The purpose of Dr. York is to resurrect the mentally dead. But now we have to unpack that. Exactly what does that really mean? Okay. We have to unpack that. What does that really mean? Because you guys really need to understand what is Dr. York's purpose so that no one can compare him to no one else, because the master teacher is like no other teacher on this planet. And so it's important everyone understands what this is. And so we're gonna unpack all of these things. So I have another question for you guys. Another question that I'm looking for all answers. It's not about you being right or wrong. It's about what answer you have, because we all should have the same answer. So now everyone should know, according to Dr. York, his purpose is the resurrection of the mentally dead. Now, here's the next question, number 2. According to Dr. York, he says that black people suffer from 2 issues. Black people suffer from 2 issues. According to Dr. York, black people suffer from 2 issues. My question to you guys, what are the 2 issues that black people suffer from? Again, what are the 2 issues that black people suffer from, according to Dr. York? T-Tiger, I'm going to answer that question. If you guys can answer my question first. I'm going to answer your questions, though. Okay, T-Tiger, I'll go into explaining. That's why I'm doing this. Actually, T-Tiger, your statements is actually what prompt me to ask these questions, because I'm very curious for you guys. Okay, so Nanya L wrote, okay, the 2 things that black people are suffering from is racial indifference and spiritual blindness. Nanya L wrote, according to Dr. York, the 2 things that black people are suffering from. That's the question. According to Dr. York, what are the 2 things that black people are suffering from? Nanya L wrote racial indifference and spiritual blindness. Betet Ray wrote also racial blindness and spiritual ignorance. So she agrees with Nanya L. Anyone else? Okay, Ken Porter wrote negative thinking. Okay, negative thinking. Now, remember, I said there are 2 things. According to Dr. York, He said there are the two things that black people are suffering from. Remember that. Spiritual Warrior wrote sleep, amnesia, and forgetfulness. Okay. Spiritual Warrior wrote sleep, amnesia, and forgetfulness. Remember, we're doing this because we all have one master teacher. And as students, right? Anyone who's studying the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K.R., we all should get the same answers. We all should get the same answers. And this is one of my goals, to for everybody to be on the same page. We all should be saying the same exact thing. Okay. T. Tiger wrote, lack of knowledge for one. He wrote, so remember, I said, according to Dr. York, black people suffer from two primary issues. Okay, Kabete Ray wrote spiritual blindness, or racial blindness and spiritual ignorance. Nanya L wrote spiritual indifference and racial blindness. Anyone else? Nolene Frank wrote the two things that black people are suffering from. Remember the question, right? The question is, what are the two things, according to Dr. York now? According to Dr. York, what are the two things that black people are suffering from? Nolene Frank, you may want to rethink that response. What are black people suffering from? What is our problem is the question. There are two issues, according to Dr. York, that black people are suffering from. Two things. Anyone else? Anyone else? It's important you guys answer these questions. Okay, we're gonna go into the answer now. No more takers, guys. Come on. It's more you guys in this chat. So, two things that black people are suffering from. What are the two things that black people are suffering from according to Dr. York? Okay, I'm gonna bring it up. One of the first books the master teacher wrote back in 1967, which is Bible Interpretations and Explanations, booklet 1. One of the first things he wrote, and he explains it in the first 4 paragraphs. Okay? He goes on to say, and I'm going to read it for you guys. Okay, now the two things that the master teacher says black people are suffering from is right here. He said there is a spell upon the Ethiopian woolly-haired people the world over, and it is a spell of spiritual ignorance and racial indifference. You see that? There's a spell upon the Ethiopian woolly-haired people the world over, and it is a spell of spiritual ignorance and racial indifference cast upon the Ethiopian by Leviathan from the Caucasian and his Bible. And this is why no one has been able to really unite the Ethiopian in any considerable numbers. And it's also why the people of African descent have not been able to make real progress towards freedom and equality. With the help of the Caucasian, Leviathan, which is the god of the Caucasian, hypnotized the Ethiopian with its magic powers and sealed the hypnosis with spiritual ignorance and racial indifference. And the only way the spell can be broken and the Ethiopian be free again and free indeed is that the spiritual ignorance be destroyed by spiritual knowledge and understanding, and the racial indifference be destroyed by racial knowledge and understanding. So those are the two things that the master teacher said that black people are suffering from. This is why we're catching hell on earth, because we're totally ignorant to these two issues. We're spiritually ignorant, and we're racially divided, and we've been racially divided for the last 6,000 years. So anyone who knows history about ancient Kemet and ancient Nubia, they were fighting each other. Two black African nations at war with each other, and we've been on a downward spiral ever since. Our division. So the two things we're suffering from is our division and our spiritual ignorance. And let me say this: we cannot unite until we are re-educated spiritually. You cannot unite until you're re-educated spiritually. So I repeat, according to Dr. York, the problems that black people are suffering from all over the world is your racial blindness and your spiritual ignorance. Okay? So that's important for anyone who's a student of the master teacher. Understand, one, what is his, according to Dr. York, what is his purpose? His purpose is to resurrect the mentally dead. Black people are mentally dead. What are we mentally dead to? You're mentally dead to you lost your spiritual knowledge, and you don't know how to unite. That's what we're dead to. And he came to re-educate us on those two things: how to unite and how to be educated spiritually again. T Tiger, as far as ignorance is a lack of knowledge. Question. Yes, ignorance is a lack of knowledge, but it's also ignorance. Look at the word, right? It means to ignore. It's two words: to ignore facts. See, black people, we ignore knowledge, right? No, it's not. So it's not just a lack of knowledge. We actually don't want to learn. That's what the spell has done to us. It's made us that ignorant, where we don't even want to educate ourselves. So ignorance means to ignore things, to ignore facts. That's why black people are in religions all over the globe, right? We either in millions of us are either in Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, and none of us, if you ask the average black person who's in any religion, do they know the historical basis of their religions? Just about 99% of them don't know the history. They don't know the origin of none of the things that they believe in. They don't know the origin of none of the things that they accept as truth. And that's someone who's ignorant. They're ignoring, they don't even investigate the facts, the origin. Like most black people in America read the King James version of the Bible, but they don't know, they have no idea who translated King James version, because remember, it's King James version of the Bible. We don't even think to investigate any of that to know whether or not his version is authentic or not. We just ignore it. Okay. Now, T Tiger, you said, you made a statement. I personally didn't learn that from you as of yet. And you watched a few videos. What did you not learn? I'm not sure what that statement meant. What did you not learn? So I can understand what your statement meant. Let's see. Okay, so guys, so we went in according to Dr. York. We explained his purpose, so all you guys should know his purpose now. And then according to him, according to Dr. York, what's the problem that Black people are suffering from? And so we said Black people are suffering from spiritual ignorance and racial blindness. Now, the main issue is the spiritual ignorance, because we're not gonna come together as a race until we are re-educated spiritually. So now the question becomes, what do we mean by spiritual blindness? What do we mean by spiritual blindness? That's the next question. What do we mean that Black people are spiritually ignorant? What do we mean? This is a question. According to the master teacher, what is spiritual ignorance? According to the master teacher, what is spiritual ignorance, guys? T Tiger, in regards to what you said, was it in regards to the question you was asking? I'll look into the timeline. Okay, I'm sorry, T Tiger. I'm a little lost on your statement. Because you said something you didn't learn from the lectures, and I'm not sure what you were implying that you did not learn, right? So that's kind of what I was trying to get. But guys, I have another question for you guys. According to the master teacher, what is spiritual ignorance? According to the master teacher, what is spiritual ignorance? According to the master teacher, what is spiritual ignorance that you guys supposed to be? Because guys, listen, we're not going to solve our problems. According to what this is what we're teaching. You're not going to be able to solve none of us are going to be able to solve any of our problems until we fix these two issues, which is the spiritual ignorance and the racial blindness. Now, everyone, the racial blindness is obvious. Black unity would solve our problems, but we haven't been able to unify. And I'm telling you, the reason why we have not been able to unify is because we're spiritually ignorant. So the question is, what do we mean by spiritual ignorance, guys? Okay, Allison wrote, religion and living moon culture lifestyle. Okay, anyone else? Any takers? What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? Because remember, we all supposed to be on the same page. We all should be given the same exact answers, right? So I need you guys to give your best answer. It's not about being right and it's not about being wrong. It's about, it's about seeing how you guys see the information, because all of us should be on the same page. That's how we're going to unify. When we all agree. The reason why Black people cannot come together, because we all disagree. We have all these disagreements, right? So you got the Moors over here, you got the Christians over there, you got the Jehovah's Witness over here, you got the Pentecostals over there, you got the Hebrew Israelites over here, you have the Nation Islam over there. We all divided because we all disagree. And this is one of the reasons why us as Sabians, as students of the master teacher, we having our own problems as an organization, because believe it or not, we're all reading the same books, and a lot of us disagree on what these books are teaching. That's why I teach the way I teach, guys. I try to go from book to book and word by word to break concepts down so there's no confusion, so that we all can come to a meeting of the minds. We all should be in agreement on especially the most important concepts, like the purpose of Dr. York, right? Everyone should know that if you're a student of his, you should know exactly, according to him, what is his purpose, right? You should know, according to him, what is the problems he's trying to fix with Black people. We all should be on the same page with this. So now we know Dr. York's purpose is the resurrection of the mentally dead. He says what our problems is. Our problem is what? Spiritual ignorance and racial indifference, right? So the question I'm asking you now, what does he mean by spiritual ignorance? That's the question, y'all. What does he mean by spiritual ignorance? Okay, so spiritual warrior said spiritual ignorance, religion, belief as the Holy Trinity, believing in an unseen God outside of oneself. T-Tag is not knowing who you really are and where you're going, of spiritual awareness. Nayel in the materializations, right scroll is the being Amun, the actual being himself, or our oversoul. Tibetet wrote, not being aware of our spiritual self the way we are with our spirit, our physical self. Nanya L, spiritual ignorance is ignoring the facts on our spiritual science and not knowing our rituals and concepts, not having a spiritual way of life. Allison, thank you for this class session. I'm seeing this in a powerful, power. That's what's up, Allison. Power, positive mindset. Ignoring the Nayel said, ignoring the facts on spirituality. T-Target. But if the student is new, they may not know his purpose. That's fine, T-Tiger. You know, it's if you don't, that's why I'm doing this, especially if you are new, so those who are new now y'all know. So I'm trying to walk you through the steps now. Guys, I've gone through these things in detail in a lot of my lectures and discussions. Okay, and so because I need to know what are you guys picking up from the discussions, right? So that we can help each other in our development. Okay, so spiritual ignorance, guys. What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? Okay, what do we mean by spiritual ignorance? That's the billion-dollar question. All right, so I'm gonna bring up the statement. What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? I brought up a book. Let's see. Okay, this is the book, Is There Eternal Life After Death? Okay. Is There Eternal Life? This book also came out in the year 2000, 2001, just so you know. Okay. So this is very important that you guys know this. All right. Now, I repeat, I've given these answers in many of the lectures that I've done. I've given these answers and I've done it in many different ways. I've given these answers. So if you guys start reviewing, especially guys, review the lecture I did on what is spirit and soul, that lecture, rewatch that lecture because I've answered that question, these questions in different ways, in many different. I did a lecture a couple years ago called Many Are Chose. I think Many Are Called, Few Are Chosen. I think the name of the lecture I did. In fact, let me see. That's why I tell people to always watch the lectures more than once. Yeah, so this lecture we did right here, what is soul and spirit? I went into it in that particular lecture. Also went into it. The resurrection is an African science. I went into it in that particular lecture. I know that for a fact. Let's see. Many are called, few are chosen. I know I went into that in that particular lecture. So again, the question becomes, what do we mean by spiritual ignorance? That's the question. What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? Now, and that answer can be found in many different books. Okay. For spiritual warrior, this book, you can find it on Scribes. It's free. You can download it for free on Scribes for those who don't have it, right? Well, T Tiger, I hope the answers aren't different. Hopefully the goal is for us to get on the same page. That's our ultimate goal, for everybody to be on the same page. So I'm working hard for that. So now let's deal with the spiritual ignorance question. What do we mean by spiritual ignorance? Okay. All right. So here's I'm on page, let's see, 86 of the no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna start at page 78. Okay, and I'm gonna read through a couple pages where he's explaining spiritual knowledge. Okay, your spirit. What does it mean? What does it mean to be spiritually knowledge? Okay, so Ronald King said, not knowing the facts of our origins. All right, that's what's up. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the answer. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to give commentary on what I read. All right. So now he goes on here, right here. Says in let's see, Revelations chapter 20, verse 6, guys. Revelations chapter 20, verse 6. It says that Jesus Christ speaks about the first resurrection. So remember, guys, the master teacher, according to the master teacher, right? It said, we talked about what is his purpose. And then right here, I'm gonna go back to the right knowledge scrolls. It says, I devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead. So that's his purpose, to resurrect the mentally dead. His purpose is to resurrect the mentally dead. Now, what are we mentally dead to? He said there are two things we're mentally dead to. And the two things you're mentally dead to is what? Your spiritual knowledge. You're mentally dead, your spiritual knowledge and racial indifference, right? We don't know how to come together as a united people, and we lost our spiritual knowledge, right? We're spiritually ignorant. So now we're answering the question, okay, well, what is spiritual ignorance then? What exactly does that mean? Right? What does it mean to be spiritually ignorant? Okay? And so now we're gonna deal with that. So now we're in a book. This is another book called Is There Eternal Life After Death? So here's what he has to say. Okay, he says this. He says in Revelations chapter 20, verse 6, Jesus Christ speaks about the first resurrection, guys. And it says the following: blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such, the second death has no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Now, that's a quote from the Bible. Then he goes on to say, this is the raising of the first fruits, the mentally dead. So now he's saying, remember, he said his goal is to raise the mentally dead. And the goal is to resurrect you. Okay? That's his goal. Right? He goes on to say, the mentally dead, of which I was one. So the master teacher said he's the first one of the mentally dead. Now, the master teacher is the first one of the mentally dead. So keep that in mind. He was mentally dead, right? So he says, which I was the first one to walk the planet unaware of my potential. I was as you are. I was raised by the angel Michael El Khidr, the highest of all the angelic beings, when he appeared to me and informed me of my responsibility back in 1970. Now I'm raising others to the truth of who you are, where you should be going, and how to get there. You too must join the ranks of the first resurrection. So he's saying you too must resurrect just like he did. Now, what does he mean when he say he was resurrected by the angel Michael? Okay, this is older doctrine, but what he meant by that is he was resurrected by a spiritual being or his oversoul. But let me explain that further so they can make a little bit more sense. All right, so now, how do you resurrect? This is the goal. Every student supposed to resurrect. Every student supposed to resurrect. Now, when you resurrect, that's developing yourself spiritually. That's re-educating yourself spiritually. You can't resurrect unless you're spiritually in tune. You can't resurrect unless you're spiritually in tune. How do you do that? Okay. How do you do that? How do you develop yourself spiritually? So let's keep going. He goes on to say, question, how can one become or be among the chosen few, the 144,000? So the 144,000 are those who've been resurrected. And it says here's how you do it. Become incorruptible. Put on an incorruptible spirit. Working with God, knowing what God wants. When we say God, he's talking about nature, guys. So we're using religious terminology. And the reason why he did that, obviously, because most of our people are indoctrinated through religion, but we mean nature. So when we say God, we're talking about nature. Knowing what nature wants you to do and do it. Become supreme beings once again, right? So this is the goal of all students, is to become supreme beings once again. Supreme being means supreme among beings, but you have fallen down to the ranks of men. So we used to be supreme beings, and we've been reduced to men, mortals. That's where we are right now. So the goal is to be resurrected back into supreme beings again, right? This is the goal, to be resurrected back into supreme beings again, because now we're mortals. We behave like mortals. So the goal is to become supreme beings again. So let's keep going. What does that mean? A human being becomes a supreme being. And now he's going to explain it. Now, this is a spirit. This is what we mean about educating yourself spiritually. A human being becomes a supreme being when he or she changes or transcends from being mortal to immortal. So you got to transform from being a mortal. As humans, we're mortals destined to die. Okay? So spiritual knowledge is learning how to transform yourself from being a mortal back into an immortal. So let's keep going. Become a son of God, or we mean a son of nature, natural nature. That's, what it really means. Or what we masters call a self-perfected man. So you must become a self-perfected being, right? You must perfect yourself. Let's keep going. Like the angel Gabriel, whom he appeared to Mary. So you got to be like the angels. Let's keep going. Who appeared to the mother of Jesus, the Messiah, in Luke chapter 1, verse 30. And the angel said unto her, fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And then Luke 1:34. Then said Mary unto the angel, how shall this be, seeing I know not a man? So it says you must be transformed like the angels. And then he goes on to say how to do this. Here's what he says. He says a person learns to become supreme through positive prayer, positive meditation, proper exercise, proper diet, cheerfulness, unselfishness, patience, being given, and always remembering the almighty natural nature. We're talking about natural nature, right? When you surrender all your love and all your will to him and stand Jesus Christ, when we talk about when we say Jesus Christ, we're talking about your oversoul, your higher self, forever in your heart, you will be enabled once again to regain the use of your third eye. So through the rituals, you have to open up your third eye. So this is what we mean by spiritual ignorance. What we mean is you must regain the use of your third eye. That's why it is said that they will be able to leave the physical body and raise up. They will no longer need the physical and the material world. Once you get your desires and wants under your control, you will be ruler of the body instead of the body ruling you. All this point, the body is no longer in need, and you have become a supreme being by regaining that supreme stature. You become children of the Most High. Okay, so here's what we mean. So what it means to be spiritually educated is you have to restore yourself or open your third eye. You have to open your third eye, which gives you the ability to see interdimensionally. I repeat, once you open your third eye, you'll be able to become one with your oversoul. Y'all become one like the master teacher. He became one with his oversoul, and so his higher self or higher spiritual self, he blended with it. They become one, and the only way to do that is through the rituals, through the spiritual practices, and then your third eye will be reopened. If for those who have the discipline in order to develop themselves spiritually. So again, our whole doctrine is about this is how, let me just say this. This is how our African ancestors, all of us prior to 6,000 years ago, used to have access to their third eye, and it used to be in tune with the higher dimensions. As human beings, we're cut off. The only thing we're in tune with, I always joke about this. We're in tune with Netflix. We're in tune with Mercedes-Benz. We're in tune with driving to the mall and paying rent and eating and whatever. We're cut off from the other dimensions. That's what it means to be spiritually ignorant. You've been cut off from the other realms, and you lost the ability to make contact. We used to know how to be able to travel out of body. All of these things we lost. We used to have ability of telepathy. We lost all of that. We used to have clairvoyance, which is to see into other dimensions. Right? So we've lost all of these spiritual abilities. So we became spiritually ignorant. And that's how we're able to get tricked by six ether forces. That's why we can't come up with a solution of how to unify, because without developing yourself spiritually again, there is no way you're going to be able to defeat Leviathan. It is impossible to defeat Leviathan or six ether beings, and you be spiritually ignorant, because they're using spiritual sciences to trap us. And so the only way to counter six ether is you have to be restored as a nine ether being. And the only way you can be restored as a nine ether being is by totally opening up your third eye. And the only way to open up your third eye is through the rituals, as I said. And it starts with a positive mind. This is the purpose of the master teacher. That's his whole purpose. So let's keep going. So Nanya said Om, AL. So Om and AAO teaches you the rituals on how to develop yourself spiritually. So we had these orders called Om, the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek, and AO, the ancient Egyptian order. All of these were spiritual teachings on how to develop yourself spiritually to reopen your third eye. This is the whole goal of our whole doctrine. This is the whole purpose of the master teacher. This is his sole purpose, is to re-educate us how to do it. Each individual have to personally learn how to do it for themselves. Unfortunately, over the last 50 years, most students lack the discipline and focus to stay on this path, and they fall off. Most students, unfortunately, and I've seen many people fall off because they lack the discipline to meditate. They don't do the prayers. They don't do the chants. They don't want to correct their diet. And a lot of our people are negative. They don't know how to get rid of the negative mind, right? They're agitated about anything. You can say the littlest things and they get upset, they get uptight. Those are where our people are possessed by six ether forces. So I repeat, the master teacher. So I explained to you guys, you know, his purpose, right? You know, the problems he said that we as Black people all over the globe is dealing with, right? Which is your spiritual ignorance. And now you know what it means to develop yourself spiritually. What does it mean to become what we call a supreme being once again? Let's see. I knew it. This is why I really feel this channel. I'm just having trouble with the master thing, right? If you're not God, say he's a physical now. You must meditate. Okay, T Tiger writes, question, how do we get rid of fear? Remember, fear comes from what? Fear comes from what? Fear comes from ignorance. People fear what they don't know and comprehend. That's why the whole point of our doctrine is right knowledge. The more right knowledge you have, the more you understand things, the less fear you have of it. Then fear, for instance, people are afraid of oh, guys, by the way, I was gonna, and I got sidetracked because this turned into like another class. We're supposed to be doing news, but last week's class, YouTube took it down because we talked about the health issue, right? They took it down. They took down last week's class, and that's pretty troubling. So I have to redo. I'm gonna redo the last week's class, which was on capitalism, right? But now capitalism, the culture of capitalism, is designed to keep you. How can I say? It's actually adverse to spiritual development because it's based on consumerism. To constantly be consuming stuff, to constantly be buying stuff. That's why they base the whole society on money. So you have to make money every day. And the purpose of making money is so you can spend the money, which is to consume. And this is why it's so hard for people to develop themselves spiritually, because spiritual development is the opposite of consumption. It's the opposite. It keeps you, how can I say, this culture actually keeps your body in a negative polarity, and you have to reverse that polarity. And consumerism is what perpetuates greed. That's why people are obsessed with greed and money and fame and fortune and constantly trying to get things, right? It keeps you in a negative polarity, literally. And we're going to go into what does that mean? A negative polarity versus a positive polarity. Your body is imbalanced. The human body is imbalanced. And that's why you can't open your third eye, because your energy centers are off. And so the purpose of the spiritual rituals is to balance you out. That's why we do the rituals, to balance you out. Once you are balanced, then your third eye will open. It's not easy, guys. I've been working on this for 30 years, and I can tell you the distractions are tremendous. But you guys are getting what I did not have, which is someone like myself guiding you through the process. Because I had to learn all of these things I'm teaching you guys through trial and error. I didn't have elder brothers in the doctrine explaining this stuff to me. So it took me all this time to even begin to comprehend these things. Years, trust me, it took years to get to this level of comprehension. So it's like a fast track for all of you guys, because now I can help you guys dissect the books and explain, okay, this is what this means. This is what that means. This is what you should be focusing on. That's why I narrowed that down. If you ask most students the purpose of the master teacher, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. And it shouldn't. He has one main purpose. If you ask a lot of students, you ask them, well, what are the two main objectives, two problems that the master teacher say we're suffering from? Again, I guarantee you guys ask other students, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. And that shouldn't be. We should all be saying the same thing, and we're not. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys. So I'm doing something for y'all that was never done for me. And it's to help you guys on a fast track to really understand what you really should be focusing on and channeling, and how you should be channeling your energy when it comes to this information. Yeah, Allison, you're right. We do need a code name for C19. You got that right. You just mention it and they like shut your video down. But that's all good. Let's see. T Tiger, fear comes from different forms. No, T Tiger, fear is one thing. I told you, trust me. Fear is ignorance. Fear is ignorance. That what all fear is sensations that are in the body. The only reason why the human being gets into a state of fear is due to their spiritual ignorance. They don't understand the energies that flow through their body, and so they can put themselves in different scenarios that will create that level of fear. Right? You can watch a scary movie and you get frightened. Correct? You go watch a scary movie and you get frightened. What is fear? It's an energy that comes through the body. The only reason why that happens to us because we're spiritually ignorant. We're not in control of the energies of our body anymore. We used to be in control. So let's say you get into a situation, you're about to get into a car accident and people get fear comes in, right? Because you're about to crash. Again, it's an energy. We used to be in control of those energies. Now we're not, because we don't know anything about our own spiritual nature. And so we're subject to fear. That's why people hear about the New World Order and they're going to lock the nation down. Our people get into panic mode and fear. They're in fear right now because of the virus issue. Tons of people are in fear. Why? Because they're ignorant to what's really happening. Once you develop your nine mind, you raise above this realm, these energy, these lower. It takes. Let me just say this: it does take some time to get to a certain level of awareness. Okay, so this it is a process, right? I just want to say that. Okay, but remember, we're dealing with emotions. Fear is just an emotion. Anger is an emotion. Ego is an emotion. All of these are emotional energies. And emotion was what? Energy in motion. Energy in motion. And we really mean spirit energy. And we used to be in tune with our spiritual nature so we can control all of those negative emotions. Now we don't have any control over negative emotions because, again, we lost our spiritual knowledge. And this is the purpose of the rituals. For instance, you can get rid of total fear through mastering the rhythmic breathing techniques, because most of the fear energy comes through the heart center. I repeat, most of the fear energy comes through the heart center. Why heart? Because that's where all of your blood builds up in the body. And what is the purpose of that? Where the blood is, your spirit flows through your blood. I repeat, your spirit flows through your blood. So people feel fear through the heart center, because that's where the most blood builds up, which is a strong energy center for the human being. And we used to be in control of our heart center. Your ancestors used to be able to control their heart rate. We've lost all of this knowledge. For instance, we used to be ambidextrous. We're supposed to use the left and right side of our body equally, and we don't use it anymore. You're either right-handed or left-handed. One side of your body is more dominated than the other side of your body. Why is that? Because one side, the energies are weak. That's why let's say if you're right-handed and you can't write as well with your left hand, it's not that you couldn't do it, you can, but the energy side, that side of the body is not developed. Once you resurrect, your body will be totally balanced. You'll be able to evenly use both hands. So I hope that helps. Anyone else? Anything else? Good about that? Fair forms. And the material question, Nanya question. In the materialization scroll, Doc explains that the certain beings have made themselves known on the planet throughout time, and that's who we can personally materialize. Which beings are they? No, you're maybe I'll go through that book and we can go through it. But when we are materializing, well, it's not no. I'm sorry. Let me correct that. It's yes. It's yes, but some more stuff. The main goal is to materialize Amun, right, in the book. And Amun in the book is the hidden one, which stands for your oversoul. So that's your first goal, right, is to materialize your oversoul and to become one. So the goal, because the goal is for us to become one with our oversoul. And your oversoul is just your higher spiritual nature, right? Your oversoul is just your higher spiritual nature. Is become one, and then your third eye will be open once you do that. Okay. Once your third eye is open, you'll be able to make contact with the Nathar who exists on higher dimensions. You'll be able to make contact with the Nathar who exists on higher dimensions. Guys, I recommend you guys watching this class, listen to this lecture, the master teacher. In fact, I'm going to do a class on this lecture. Let's see. It's called Angelic Descendants. I'm going to bring up the class. I'm telling you, all of you guys to listen to this lecture of the master teacher. It's called Angelic Descendants on Earth. This particular lecture right here, Angelic Descendants on Earth. Okay. I want you guys to listen to this class. In fact, I'm going to do a whole commentary on this particular class. Because everything I talked about today about resurrecting, he explains it in this particular class. Now, mind you, this class was in the 80s. And he goes into great detail. So we're going to go, in fact, we're going to go over this class. We're going to do this class. You're going to go through this class together, and we're going to break it down in detail. No, what was that question? Question. Shalonda had a question. Question is, are there teachings on these rituals? Yes, we have detailed teachings on how to do the rituals, Shalonda. We had spiritual orders the master teacher set up, right? Schools of thought. And the first order the master introduced us to that educated us spiritually was called the Sons of the Green Light. And that spiritual order came out in the 1980s, right? Like 85 or so. Then we moved up a level in spiritual knowledge in the 90s. So in 1995, he introduced us to a new spiritual order called the Ancient Mystic Order of Melchizedek, called Om. And we had lessons. So in the first spiritual order, it was called the Sufi order, and we had lessons for that spiritual order. It was like 9 lessons that were very detailed on things you need to do spiritually. Then in 1995, he introduced us to a newer, higher level of spiritual science, which is the Om, right? Which is the Ancient Mystic Order of Melchizedek. And that had like 12 lessons, okay? And then in the year 2000, around 2000 or 1999, he introduced us to our final spiritual order called the Ancient Egyptian Order, the AEO. Now, I think they got up to like 7 lessons in that particular order. But they the master teacher got taken from us. And so we was never able to complete a lot of the lessons, but it's a lot of the information is in the new books that have been coming out called The Actual Facts and The Master's Secrets, right? All of our new literature that have been coming out, the actual facts and the master secret. And guys, I'm going to be working on getting you guys access to the new books. So that's something else we're working on. So I just want you guys to know that, so everyone get access to the new books for those who want to purchase them. But so yes, we do have detailed explanation on spiritual order. In fact, a lot of that information is on Scribes. It don't supposed to be on Scribes, but it's on Scribes. People put it out there. So a lot of our books are for free on Scribes. Okay, so for those who are new, you can get a lot of this information for free on Scribes, and dealing with the spiritual information. All right, so I hope that helps. Let's see. He did. Okay, Cafre asked a question a while back. Help! I have a friend who insists if Dr. York was really in contact with ETs, Yanu, they would teleport out of jail. What's a good response? What's a good response to this line of thinking? Okay, first of all, I mean, that's anyone who makes a statement like that obviously is not. That's not a serious individual. That's just someone who just want to do jokes. And we have that. We have a lot of people who like to do jokes and clown about the master teacher. But anyone who says that obviously is ignorant to spirituality. They don't have a clue what spirituality means, right? And what is it? And they don't understand what does it mean to be spiritually developed. They're totally ignorant to the rules, laws, and regulations of dimensions and realms. And this is the whole point of our doctrine, is to educate people spiritually so that they really understand what that means, So no one is going to be materialized or anything like that. They first have to understand or comprehend what is an incarnation. Our people don't know what that means. They don't know what it means to have an incarnation. They don't know what it means to become one with your oversoul. They don't know what that means, right? They're not aware of that, nor do they really understand the different dimensions and how existence is on the third dimension, which is where we are. We're on a three ether. How can I say? This is the third dimension is considered a three ether vibrational realm, 3 and 6 ether, right? So that's the realm we're on, or really 3 ether. We're moving from a 3 ether vibration to into a 4 ether vibration. Okay, so that transition is in process now, although it's going to take another 1,000 years from now. We're in that transition of moving into a higher vibrational existence. Okay, so no humans, just because you're one with your oversoul, you're not going to be dematerializing and stuff like that. That's not even realistic, and the person people who act or say those things, they're just not aware of spiritual knowledge. They're just ignorant, to the subject matter. So that's really the only way to deal with them, is ask them how much do they really understand about spirituality and spiritual development. That's why I'm trying to teach you guys to become really clear on what spiritual development means and the purpose of the master teacher. He did not come here to do magic tricks. He came here to re-educate our people spiritually, which is why we teach that our doctrine is self-authentication. You're not to believe the things the master teacher is teaching. You are to experience it yourself. You're to put it to the test, like any scientist. So whatever we're teaching, like I'm teaching you guys about spiritual rituals, right? Well, if you don't do none of the rituals, then this information has no purpose for you. That's why a lot of people leave our organization, because what you'll find out is most people who leave the doctrine, or a lot of people who leave the doctrine, they never developed themselves spiritually. So they was in an organization that taught about spiritual development, but they never, you know, bothered to develop themselves spiritually. That's like joining a basketball team, but never learning how to dribble the ball. But what's the purpose of being on a team if you're not going to learn anything about the sport? You're just there to watch the game and be a spectator all your life. But I tell you, a lot of students, a lot of ex-students, they don't know anything about spiritual development because they've never did the meditation, they never did the concentration exercises, the rhythmic breathing exercises. They never did none of those things, not for any length of time to see any kind of spiritual benefits. But I can assure you, anyone who does any of that stuff for any length of time, at least 3 months of consistent daily rituals, you will see and have spiritual benefits. It's impossible for any person to do any of those things and not. And guys, we're not the only ones who teach this. This information has been taught all over the planet by many different cultures since the existence of humanity. Spiritual knowledge is not new, that's ancient. What's new is that we live under a capitalistic, materialistic society that has that keeps people ignorant about spiritual development. And that's why people have these type of questions, because they're thinking from a Caucasian mindset. That's really what the problem is, So I hope that helps. Yes. Okay, spiritual warrior, ask were you a student of Ansar? I guess you meant, was I a student during the time Ansar Allah? Yes, I was a student. I became a student of the master teacher in 1989, the summer of 1989 to be exact. That's when I became a student. And at that time, that's when I took my Shahada. Okay. And what that means is it's called the bear witness to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's when you're officially, how can I say? It's like an initiation. That's probably the best way I can explain that. It's like an initiation. And so I officially was initiated in 1989. Right. And so that, in essence, it's what I talked to you guys about. When you become initiated like that, you then have to change your lifestyle. So that's when we used to wear these long white robes. We call it a jalabeer. So I used to wear jalabeer, right? I used to wear long white robe, jalabeer. I have pictures. I've showed it in other classes. I don't know if I have any on this computer. I would show people to give you guys some insight on how we used to look, how we used to dress for those who aren't, who wasn't there or whatever. But yes, I was a student in the Ansar Law classes at that time period. We consider ourselves the Ansar Law. Also, we consider ourselves the Nubian Islamic Hebrews. And so, yes, I was a student, back then in 1989. And that was an interesting time. It was an interesting time period. Let's see. I think I do have some pictures. Here you go. For those, this is me. And this picture probably was in 1990, right? This is me again. See, I'm in my jalabeer, my white robe. I'm in school. I was going to electrical school learning electronic technician. And so I used to wear my long white robe to school, right? And so this is me in another picture with, we this is called a tagir, the head covering. We call that a tagir, right? And I didn't have a jalabeer on that day, but the brother next to me, he had his jalabeer on. I didn't. And so, that's me. And like I said, this is in New York City. We're in the subway because we used to set up, we used to sell, because I had my own table. I used to sell the books back then in the table. I thought I had a picture of that. Here it is. This is my table. I used to sell. This is my brother, right? The one right here on the left hand side. And this is another partner of mine. This is my table. I used to sell inside the train station. These are the books on my table. This is another picture of it. This is one of the posters that we used to sell. And again, this is some of the books. I used to sell costume jewelry also. I used to sell incense and oils. That's on my table, right? And so yeah, this is back in 1990, 91 and all. And so I would wear long jalabeer. I used to wear, we had a whole get up, and we had a whole set of books, different than the books that I'm showing you now, back then. And so yeah, that was a whole nother life, guys. We've come a long way from this time period. But that's me. I've been doing this for a long time. For a real long time. Let's see. The teacher you gave him more. Sorry though, I love you, but let's see the change up. T-Ty, I'm not sure what you mean by the change up. And let's see, Capre, he says it right here. He says he sees the change up. Let's see. Question, T-Tiger question. Do you have to be initiated to change your lifestyle, or is it just a title? The initiation for right now, to change your lifestyle, the initiation is a personal experience. Like, so when I came in, right, when I was initiated, we actually had a specific ritual that we went through. You had to say these affirmations, right, and prayers, and make a commitment to our culture, right? So we kind of went through a whole commitment process that I had to go through. And then you had to change your lifestyle, right? So I had to change. I see how I was dressing. Now, mind you, guys, I was living in New York City looking like this. And I went to school. I'm in school right here. And I went to school looking like this, dressed with a long white robe. So that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially, growing up in New York City. A lot of people don't want to, go around looking like that. And so, yeah, it's a culture change, right? So now today we have African garb that we're wearing. This jalabeer is an African garb, by the way, right? This is what, to this day, our family in the Sudan, Sudanese, that's how they dress today. This is a Sudanese dress. So these African shirts, this is like a West African. The jalabeer, that's East African dress code. So that's the only difference, right, between back then and today, is the where the style of clothing is coming from, guys. Just so you know that. So that's important. That helps. What else? Yeah, Capre. Yeah, it was the tail end, like, because like 2 years later, around 92 is kind of when we began to transition, when the master teacher in 92, the master teacher told us to come out of the jello bears. That's when he told us, so like in the summer of 92, or early 92, that's when we were coming out of, we stopped wearing the jello bears back then. and all, and we transitioning to into the Holy Tabernacle Ministries and all. And T Tiger, why then and not now? That's a long answer. We do kind of now, but it's complicated. And being that the master teacher has been kidnapped and taken from us, it's disrupted a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of things happen, and not things that should be happening is not happening. So it's a lot of issues. Okay. Allison, quick question. How are the ladies supposed to be dressed? Are we to cover our hair and wear white? Allison, no. Actually, the sisters, they do have a dress code, but no, we don't. The sisters don't cover. They used to. The sisters used to cover their whole head, their whole face, everything. They used to wear what we call the khimar, which is a complete head covering, but the sisters don't do that anymore. And the dress, the style of clothes is similar. If you guys research Sudanese women, the dress that the Sudanese women wear, that's what a lot of our sisters are wearing now. So if you can research that, the Sudanese women, the dress, the garments that they wear, a lot of sisters are wearing that. Plus, sisters also wearing West African clothing. I know my Hamaktet, my mate, she has a lot of West African dresses and items. She was buying straight from Ghana. So your sisters can definitely do that. And in fact, maybe I can have her upload some pictures so you guys can see some of the dress that she has. If you want me to do that, I can show you some of the things that she has purchased and what she wears. So I hope that helps. And quick question: why then and not now? Allison, where do we go and get those garments? Where do we order the shirts and garments from? Yeah. So, I'll try to get my Hamaktet and see, because there were some places that she was ordering from. In fact, she was on. She gave some answers on a chat. Her name is Kabetet. If you look at Kabetet Ray, that's my Hamaktet. That's my mate. You guys can ask her because she has some. She's been buying. I think a lot of her stuff is from West Africa. It's from Ghana. She's been buying stuff from Ghana. Yeah, I'll try to get the pictures so you can see. I'll definitely try to do that. And today, okay, guys, I meant to be. We just went into a casual conversation today. Meant to do the whole news thing, but let me try to cover some things real quick. Anyway, let me give you guys an update on NoopooH period, right? Because I was gonna go into that because a lot of things I needed few things I needed to go into is and I'm gonna rush through this stuff really quick because obviously we're out of time, but I did want to, today's discussion was important, so don't get me wrong. Today's discussion was very important, so I think it was good for us to talk, and we're gonna have many more discussions like this because there's a lot, it's a lot of things we need to do. Okay, real quick. T Tiger asks question: if you can, will you view an episode of Brother Panic and give me your opinion? Like, if ask your opinion on the Bible. All right, I saw it. Okay, let me just say this. I saw it. The Panic. They what's that brother? Black Magic put out a video with Panic. The brother Phil Valentine and that other brother that be on Gaia. What's that brother? Billy Carson. I think they did. Did you watch that? Did you watch did you watch that? Because I'll watch something that you have watched. That way we'll be on the same page talking about it. Okay. I'll watch something and I'll work with you on that. Um, I don't mind doing that. And, and oh, Allison, that's my Hamatet right there, Kabetet Ray. So she's talking. That's her. Um, okay. Spiritual warrior says and Sotola. Okay. Together. Oh, okay. So T Tiger, you did watch it. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I'll check it out and see what you see, see, I'll check it out. I'm familiar with what those guys teach. See, you know, those brothers. You got. In essence, you have Phil Valentine. You have Bobby Hemmett. You have another brother named Alim Bay. What's his name? Alim. Forget his names. A lot of these brothers, because they all of them deal with metaphysics, right? Metaphysics. It's quite different from what we teach in Wu Sabat, what those brothers are teaching. It is quite different from what we teach. I will say that. But I'll try to give you a commentary on the differences between what we teach versus what they teach, if that helps. Shalom again. As this being my first time in this class, I'm really happy that I attended. I enjoyed the knowledge. Attendance Tuesday as well. Thank you. That's what's up. That's what's up. Shalonda, we're glad to see you. Definitely. And a lot of those brothers hate on Dr. York. Now, oh yeah, the Capre, he's saying a lot of the brothers, yeah, a lot of the brothers Phil Valentine and a lot of the guys, they'll say positive things and they'll say some negative things when it comes to the master teacher. I know Bobby Hemmett kind of goes back and forth like that. One minute he's dissing the master, next minute he's giving praise to the master teacher. So they shift back and forth depending on their mood swings. I've even heard that with Phil Valentine. Plus, they get upset because I know people have claimed that they've gotten knowledge from the master teacher and didn't give him credit, and so it's a lot of confusion. But I will say what we teach is vastly different from what those brothers are teaching or trying to explain. Okay, so T Tiger, I want to make that clear. Those guys are not. Let me just say this: none of those brothers are spiritual masters. None of those brothers are spiritual masters. Not Brother Panic, not Phil Valentine, none of them. The master teacher is the only spiritual master on the planet specifically designed to educate Black people on the planet Earth. He is the only master teacher sent here for that one purpose. Okay. And so he's the only one that was given the specific knowledge that Black people need to deal with what we're dealing with, which is Leviathan. Something that those brothers don't teach about either. They don't know anything about Leviathan. That was knowledge that we taught that they're not even aware of. And so there's a lot of things that those brothers are not aware of. And so a lot of the things that they're teaching, they're trying to explain a lot of the metaphysical teachings coming out of Africa, coming out of Kemet, and that's kind of how they're trying to educate our people. And so there are a lot of things that they're doing that's helping. I think there's good knowledge for our people to know, but it's not what we teach. I that's the best thing I can say on that. Okay. Okay, so real quick, guys, just a real quick update on NoopooH. I haven't had time to talk about NoopooH, and also one thing, guys, help. I need some help, real quick. If anyone knows any individual who understands web design, I'm looking for somebody who's familiar with dealing with websites. Okay. I'm looking for somebody to hire, to pay them. Okay. If I can find somebody who knows anything about websites, dealing with e-commerce, they have to have some knowledge about e-commerce when it comes to websites. So I'm looking for somebody who has knowledge about e-commerce with that. Let's see. T Tiger, I agree, but they have a wealth of knowledge and the brother Panic to speak on all that Jewish Leviathan and all. Um, they don't know of the opening of the seventh seal. Okay, we'll get into it, T Tiger. We'll get it. You know, I'll try my best to explain uh, um, the difference between what we teach and what those brothers teach. But I don't have anything bad to say about. If you guys, I don't do controversy. I don't do negativity with anyone. I respect what everyone tries to teach. Although I'm firm when it comes to if you're teaching truth or facts or not facts. I should best say that we need to deal with facts. I should say that. Okay, so one of the things to do, Auntie Tiger, you can try just if they have some ask questions, look at what they're teaching and ask me questions from some of the things that you're hearing those brothers say, and I can see the difference between what they're saying versus what we teach on a certain subject matter, and that's a good thing, good thing to do. You disagree on me that it's not so different? Okay. I mean, that's fair. Our goal is to have a meeting of the minds. So, we're not always going to agree. I'm talking from a lot of years of experience and dealing with a lot of different brothers from a lot of different schools of thought. Remember, I come from the same location those brothers come from. Those brothers, a lot of them come out of New York. And I am familiar with a lot of the things that these guys teach, and I'm trying to tell you, I can assure you, it's not the same. It's there are a lot of similarities. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of similarities between what those guys teach, but at the same time, there's a huge difference between what we're trying to do versus what those guys are trying to do. There's a huge difference, and the biggest difference is they're not spiritual masters, and that is very important to understand. When somebody is trying to teach you about spiritual knowledge, which is what those guys do, they're practitioners of spiritual knowledge, but they're not masters of spiritual knowledge. And so what does that mean? That means that they're not aware of the other dimensions. They've never, far as I know, they're not aware of the other dimensions. They've never been able to travel to the other dimensions. They've never been able to travel off world to other realms, other planets. They're not associating with other spiritual masters on higher realms and higher dimensions. They've never been out of this universe, far as I know. All of these things I'm telling you, the master has been. He's been to many different planets. He's dealt with many different other beings from other realms, other dimensions, other planets. He's dealt with the master has 76 trillion years of knowledge. I guess that's the best way to sum it up. There's not a question you can think of in your brain to ask the master teacher that he couldn't answer. I repeat, There's not a question that you can think of in your brain pertaining to spiritual knowledge, that is, that you can ask the master teacher he don't know. You know? And so you're dealing with a being that has been incarnated on this planet. When the master teacher talks about ancient history, he's talking about he's able to explain things from ancient historical point of view because he was there. You know, so he existed as what's the best way to say that? You know, all human beings are spirit beings, and spirit beings, as spirit beings, we've lived many multiple lives. And so once you become a spiritual master, you have access to those memories. And that's also what makes the master teacher unique. He has access to the memories of all his multiple lives. So he has memory of lifestyles and things we've done in ancient times. That's why he's able to teach things that no one else has been able to explain. You know, so it's a lot. It's a lot. It's so much stuff we haven't had time to get into, because it's that much information that we teach, like the origin of existence, the origin of the universe. No one else knows that. No one else can teach. Like if you guys watch the discussions I did on the SMAT circle and the origin of universes and how universes come into existence and how dimensions form, no one else has that knowledge that can teach that. None of them know anything about the SMAT circle. None of them have that information. You know, the master teacher is the only one that has that kind of universal knowledge and has taught that knowledge in detail. You know, so there's a lot of stuff. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, his lectures are now. Yeah, his lectures are very long, T-Ty. I give you that. They're extremely long. So no, I've never listened to an 8-hour lecture of his. So, you know, I'll be honest with you, I haven't done that. I have listened to some of his stuff, but you know, not an in-depth study of what he's saying in detail. I just have, you know, a base knowledge. I think the best thing, you know, anyone can do, because my goal is to show the difference between what we teach and what anyone else teach on this planet. I don't care whether it's the Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, Christians, the Moors, any else doctrine, because what we teach, we're the ones with the right knowledge. We're the ones with the most superior doctrine on earth. So with that kind of statement, I'm open to anyone ever challenging anything that we teach or putting forth a doctrine that's superior to our doctrine, because we make the claim. We do make the claim that we're the ones with the right knowledge. We're the ones with the superior doctrine to any other person's doctrine on earth. And so when we make such a claim, we open ourselves up to anybody presenting a different doctrine and showing how that other doctrine is superior to what we're teaching, because the goal is our people need the truth and we need a solution to our problem. And that's why we're always saying we're the ones with the solution to our problem. Now, if someone else has the solution to Black people's problem, by all means, present it, you know? And so I tell anybody, and this is an open challenge to anyone who has information that can help and solve our problem, because we have the total answer, not a part of an answer, not a piece of the answer. We say we have the complete answer above and beyond anyone else's doctrine. We make that bold claim. And so if we're going to make that bold claim, that means we have to defend that claim. So I open up to anybody to present any teachings that they think is even close to what we're teaching. You know, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, T-Tiger. So I'm not saying it out of disrespect or anything. I'm saying it as an actual fact of something we stood on for over 50 years. That's why no one's ever tried to to debate the master teacher. The master teacher challenged every teacher when he was out. For 30 years, he challenged everybody to challenge anything that he said, to debate him on anything he said. And no one's ever took up that challenge, to do it. They waited till the master teacher got kidnapped, to do a lot of the slander. But the negative stuff that people say about the master teacher today, they would never say when he was out. They waited till he was gone, and then they make up a bunch of lies, unfortunately. But it is what it is. It's the way of the world. But they had 30 years to challenge him, and they never did. And the master teacher wrote books on everybody. He wrote books on the Nation of Islam. He wrote books on the 5%ers. He wrote books on the Christians. He demolished the Christian doctrine. He demolished the Islamic doctrine. He demolished the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. None of them. Only the Muslims tried to challenge him. I will say that. Only the Muslims did try to challenge him. And when they came out with a book back in 1989, the Ansar cult, and the master teacher annihilated them with book after book after book. And so that's important, because we're talking about your soul is on the line. Our souls are on the line. So we don't have time. Our people have been dealing with all types of false doctrines for the last 500 years, really 6,000 years. We don't have time for misinformation, half information, partial information. We need the total truth. We're living in a day and time where we need the total truth, not a partial truth, because we really have to solve the problems we're dealing with. We really, and only having the most superior doctrine, because remember what I said, knowledge rules ignorance, right? We're being ruled by everyone on the planet because they have a superior knowledge than us, and so it's very important that if anyone who's out there trying to teach our people, that they have the total solution to our problems. There's a reason why the disagreeable ones had to come after the master teacher and try to destroy, what we're doing. They do that. They don't do that for no reason at all. They do that because they see someone as a serious threat. And that's why they did what they did, unfortunately, to the master teacher. So, again, and see, let me just say this. I'm the kind of person, I like to listen to different people, and I do. I listen to a lot of different people. I specialize in that. That's one of my things I like doing. And so again, I'm open to listening to anyone. But I do challenge. I challenge anyone if anyone has the truth, because that's what I teach. I teach we have the complete truth, not a partial truth, and whoever has the total truth, the total solution for our problems, that's who should be leading our people. We don't need all these multiple leaders. That's what's going on. That's the problem in Africa. They got 900 leaders and no real direction, and we're not getting nowhere. Our people are suffering. We need direct leadership. So that's what I'm saying when I'm saying. But with that being said, I ran out of time. What else? Let's see. He talked about everything except this smack circle. Okay, yeah, T Tiger, you're gonna have to give me some details of things that he explains, and that way I can, then we can kind of work. We can work from there. So I can try to explain maybe what they're teaching versus what we're teaching, and why we teach what we teach. Where the differences may be. I'm sure you always will find similarities. That I'm not arguing. They will always find some similarities, but there's some distinct differences. Like, for instance, we're the only ones that teach resurrection. Now try to find someone who explains that, who teaches resurrection and how to actually do it and the purpose. For instance, we're the only one to teach our people on how and who they should be actually making contact with, which is non-ether beings and their oversoul. Now, we're not the only ones who teach about our oversoul, but we are the only ones that teach the difference between a non-ether being, a six ether beings, and ghost beings. We're the only ones that explains that, because most people, when they come to spiritual knowledge, they don't know the difference between spirit beings. They really don't know the difference between spirit beings. We're the only ones that explain those differences, which is crucial, because a lot of our people are into spiritual practices, but they don't understand the spirit forces they call on. Like Bobby Hemmett, that brother call on every spirit force above and under the sun, and he doesn't realize you don't do that. You know, their names at certain tones you don't. For instance, those brothers don't understand language. They don't understand the morphic resonance, that you have to say certain things in certain tones, and your body, you have to calibrate your body to a certain frequency to make contact with a specific set of beings. A lot of them don't know those tones, those sacred tones. Something that the Freemasons or the secret government has been trying to figure out is how they open up portals and stargates. There's levels of knowledge that, you know, that a lot of people, we used to know these things. Let's just say that, you know, but a lot of our people, they don't have that knowledge anymore. But on that note, you know, we're way overdue. I keep saying I meant to go into other stuff, but that's okay. Let's see. I'm gonna get ready. Truth is unbeatable. Panic is very knowledgeable for spiritual history, not to solve, just to use. That's all. Yeah, everything is in love. Let me just say that, T Tiger, and I say that to everybody. Everything is all in love and all in peace, man. Because listen, you know, we all want a solution to our problems. We all want a solution to our problem. But let me get back to this, guys. If anybody knows, real quick, anyone who has any knowledge about websites and dealing with e-commerce, dealing with websites, guys, please recommend. You know, I'll pay whatever their price is. I'm looking for somebody dealing with our site. I'm trying to get the site up and running so we can talk about the NoopooCC.com, right? To get you guys on there is very important, this particular project. And I'm going to try to get into this again next week because I'm way over time. But the NoopooCC.com, and just so you guys know, this is the basis of the site here. And so we have a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm trying to get we have an e-commerce component, because when you come to the site, in essence, you have to create a membership. And so the people I was working with they help me with other stuff, but they can't help me with this e-commerce part. And I'm having a hard time trying to find someone. So if you guys know anyone that has any knowledge about websites and e-commerce when it comes to, dealing with that with websites and programming, that's what I need help with. Okay. So this is the base page of the site. So you type in NoopooCC.com to take you here. But the thing is that, let's see if I can log into it. This is the base of the site. So, we're just trying to get it functional. And so there's so much more that, we're going to be working on with the site to get everybody so that everybody can effectively use it and log on. Again, it's our own social engine, right? Last week, like I said, they took down the video we did. So we have to have our own social engine, our own social platform. And so there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing, being able to do with this site. So this is, I'm logged in now into the site. And so what happens is what I need help with is for somebody to help with the e-commerce portion of the site, the e-commerce portion, because we have the membership levels. So obviously the site is $19 a year, so it's not some astronomical, it's not a lot of money, obviously. And why we do the fee for the site is because we're not charging advertising dollars like that. Because like Facebook, they make their money off of advertising. They're making billions off of advertising. and we don't want to do that because we don't want to be beholden to advertisers, right? So we want you, the people, to finance the site through the memberships so that we can control how this site develops, because the goal is for positive Black consciousness, for Black people all over the world to be able to use this site as a networking tool, right? So for us, and this is open to everybody. You know, as long as you're positive, I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever, Black people all over the world. We want to get onto the site, and they're going to be able to do many different things. We're going to set up here, guys, because we're setting up our own encyclopedia that's going to be here, a reference encyclopedia. So it's going to take a lot, and I mean, this is a lot of money to get all of these things done. Okay, for us to have our own social engine, but we can do it. You know, with you guys' help, we can do it. But right now, I need the e-commerce portion of the site. I need help with the e-commerce portion of the site, and for someone who knows how to set that point, set that point up. And I'm having a hard time finding that. So if you guys know anybody, definitely, if you guys can recommend someone like that, or if you guys get to put the word out, if you know anybody who's into computers, programming, whatever, if you guys can put the word out so I can finish this. And so this is just the basis of the particular site. There's so many things we're going to be able to do, but I can't add on. There's so many features we're trying to get into the site, but I can't add in until we start getting the members, and I can't get the members until we get the e-commerce portion completed. And so this is kind of where I'm stuck at, guys. And I had one step forward and then got two steps back, because people said they could help, then it wound up they can't help it, and it's been a challenge. So I'm sorry for all of those, especially you guys who sign up for memberships. I know it's a challenge. So again, we need as much help as we can get. Okay, guys, we need as much help as we can get. So on that note, but this is the basis of the site, so that we can, hopefully eventually in the future, we can do all of our stuff on NoopooH. We don't have to use YouTube no more. We can get our people off of Facebook. Again, I'm talking about for positive people, because our people are using social media for a lot of negative stuff. None of those individuals are welcome. Now they're welcome if they're gonna use it for positive. NoopoohCC.com is a social engine for positive things, positive businesses, positive education, teaching, whatever it is you're teaching. I'm not into, whatever it is someone teach, that's fine, as long as it's, positive. That's our main thing. So that's it. So I wanted you guys to see that. I definitely, we'll talk more about it, because there's a lot to get done. So we just need the e-commerce portion fixed on the site. So again, I repeat, guys, please put the word out. On that note, let us end, because we're way over time. Let us end, and we will get back to you guys next week. I'll do a quick prayer, and then I'm going to close out. Abdul Kala Namasa Wabazo Namad Kasam on a far papa. Anuki Joef Pa Ashok Impapot, Wu Kala Ashok Kwun Joef Naya. Anuki Kasamon Impapot, Wu Papot Kwun Kasamon M Naya. Anuki Wahu Amad Papot, Wu Papot Kwun Wahu Amad Naya. Naku Kador Naju Amad Kasamon Impapot, Wu Khabub Amad Shikasun. Nakuk Kodor Kawan Kale Pafaf Nakuk Daya Jaweb Papot. Aman Wasu Aman Dayani Kawun Lake Baku Jaweb Papot. Anuki Yababi Nafasni. Papot Kawun. Anuki. Papot Kador. Nakuk Kador. Papot Amu. Nakuk Amu. Jednafur. Okay, guys, until next week, be safe. Be safe. And I love you all.
الحلو